We're back again. Image chat number 9. We took a little break last week for Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a nice holiday. We're back this week with a very special guest, and a good friend, Thomas Teger. Thomas and I go way back. He was in charge of marketing for us at Bunkspeed back in 2006. And so has had a unique perspective on sort of rendering and its growth over the last 20 years. So I think it's going to be a lively discussion and lots of interesting things to talk about. Chris, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Thank you, Phil. Yeah, it's cool to have Thomas today on board here because me and Thomas, we know each other also since some years. I don't know exactly. You know it better, Thomas, but some years
It's
ago,
30 years.
30
30
years.
years.
Yeah. This,
It's
that,
1995.
that's impossible. No, no, but
Seems
it's,
that way, doesn't it? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. But
It's
that's cool
crazy.
to have you here because it is also very interesting things over the time. And we met sometimes in different Seagraph locations. I remember we have been together in LA. And it was always a pleasure to meet you because I know your background and that's also very strong.
Thanks for having me. It's really an honor. Reconnecting with you guys with Phil. I hadn't talked for a number of years, but Christian and I were always in touch one way or another, as he said. But just like over the last couple of months, reconnecting with you guys and so forth. I felt like this is it's almost like we never left the room. Right. It always felt so natural somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
We just wiped out kind of whatever 10, 15 years and continued the discussion where we left off. And especially in this day and age, this really makes it exciting. And I come back to this in my post when I announced or reposted, talking about the old friends, so it's interesting, in this day and age, you're surrounded by all these youngsters and money and this, and, I think the old guard, is sometimes overlooked and what we can actually bring to the table.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that. We try to stay relevant and vibrant here, where I look at the youth and they're like, what do they know? So, I don't want to be three old farts like the grumpy old men, that's for sure not
Yeah,
what we are. We're actually, I think we're on the verge of something really, really amazing here. I think we're all working on really exciting stuff. So, let's just jump into it, So I've got a few
Mhm. Of
questions prepared for you, Thomas, because, I figured I'll just grill you while I can on the screen here.
course.
You joined in 2006, right? To join Bugspeed, and when HyperShot was launched, it was a big launch back then, and then that later became Keyshot, right? So, when you like for you, what made that moment feel revolutionary, and how is this sort of similar to that time? Because I think we're in a similar sort of moment. So, what's your thoughts on?
But so really, to me, we met, and it's just like coming back without going back to when Ramses built the pyramids. But it was like when we first met, you and I, Phil. It was in January of 2006 at the LA Auto Show. It's you, Duca, and Leon having at the press day, showing bunk speed you drive. And then we started talking about it. You invited me down to the studio, and you said, "Yeah, we have something, it's like a real-time thing." And I was like, "Nah, whatever. I don't believe it, real-time ray tracing." And at the time, it was a Pontiac Solstice you showed me, right?
Ah,
Fully like detail, right? From Prods, Holzhausen. Um, so it's fully detailed. The interior, the top down. So there was interior. There was all, there was the leather on the seats and the car paint and the glass and the refraction and the reflections. And then you moved and it was sitting there, right? It looked like an image. And then you moved the camera. It took some while to catch up. But when I saw that and then a new camera angle and just everything was already there, this was like, this is it. This is where I decided this is what I wanted. This is the future of rendering. Because even though I had been involved, and as it comes back to my time with Christian, so we've been involved with rendering. What was that? CDRS, for those, what is that? Computer design and rendering software.
Conceptual design and software.
Oh, conceptual design. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was kind of the competitor to Alias on a smaller scale. And then, that's where we had rendering, it was in 95, 96. So within these 10 years, rendering always felt like this it was always a specialty, and I was never a rendering guy really. But when I saw this, really that happening in like basically real time, so I didn't have to do anything. That to me was like, this is the future, and I want to be part of it.
Well, it was a moment, and it did have a lot of impact on a lot of people. But then it went on to become Keyshot. What happened then?
When we built HyperShot and brought it to market, I remember we showed it in 2006, very bare bones at the IDSA event in Austin. It was you and Phil, you and I, Phil. So and then we built the product around it to make it actually bring it to market. It was in 2007. And I think from then on out, the rest was, in a sense, I don't want to say that the rest is history or that rest is it's downhill or uphill from there, but basically we defined, and that was in 2000, let's say 2006, we basically defined real-time rendering. When it became Keyshot, you had asked me, it's just like, what changed? It evolved, but it didn't change, right? And then that's why here we are sitting like almost 20 years later. And in a sense, this is still, whatever you call it, this is still the state of the art right now. Nothing had actually come close up until then. Of course, there were renderers popping up then left and right. And even when, at the time when we started, every week there was a new renderer. But nothing was there to fundamentally change and have an impact and disrupt things as the original HyperShot release had. And of course, I mean, I went through it. It's like, hey, what did we add? We added a ton of things. Right, from the import pipeline, we expanded that. We built all these plugins. But this is, again, it was just an expansion of what we had already built with HyperShot, how we went to market. The simplicity, now, and this is one thing, what changed. It actually, and this is the unfortunate thing with software in general, unfortunately, we went, I think from there, it went downhill because it went uphill. It was because we had, what was our thing? Fast, simple, accurate. What do we have? 3 buttons, right? Follow the model. Okay. Change your lighting or, materials, lighting, done, boom. And this story was so easy to tell and resonate. And what happened over the years was like with Keyshot, we added more and more features, and yeah, it grew to a point where it was like, really, it's useful. And we keep maintaining the core of simplicity up until a point where it's like you have the wheels that squeak the loudest. And for me, the defining moment, and even though I was in charge of strategy, but I only had so much weight I can throw around. When we introduced with Keyshot 6, we a shader tree, felt like, okay, we went backwards. Yes, of course, people loved it, but it really wasn't. Again, it wasn't for the masses. Right. That's the whole thing. Right.
That adds a significant amount of complexity, right? Adding a shader tree to
it does, right? And we wanted to, we had talked about this is such a strong word, to democratize rendering, and that's what we did with HyperShot. Did it do everything? No, but that's okay. Because what it did is it's basically brought everybody. I remember we kicking around these things down there in the studio at Bunk Speed. It's just like, if you have a mouse, you can use HyperShot.
Yeah.
Basically, if you know how to use a mouse, right? It was so simple. And I felt like this is from back to what changed. Yes, it went up, expanded until then it fell down in a sense, right? But I mean, it didn't hurt it in a sense because it's established such a leadership position in the industry that and again, that's why we're here, 20 years later, it's still kind of, it has been adopted and nothing better has come along for a lot of people. And that's why they're still using it.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw generative AI come to the market and when I sort of got into this, to what AI is and learned how to train a model and what happened with that, and then to start see images be generated, it changed everything for me again, after sort of recognizing that real-time ray tracing was going to be a kind of a revolution in the space. And I see that today with AI. And I think Jensen Huang of NVIDIA said some years ago now, that pretty soon every pixel will be a generated pixel, not a rendered pixel. And I can see that, some of the sort of things that you would do in real-time ray tracing, we're going to be able to switch to generative AI. And I, of course, see generative AI moving to real time at some point in the future, not too distant future as well, but also having control of things like materials. and you've had a lot of experience in materials, right? You understand the material world pretty well with your last venture with the Swatch book.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So this is, when I first saw these first Gen AI or AI renderers come on the market, I waved it off. Even when we learned about deep pics and what you guys are doing, I was like, yeah, whatever. I didn't pay too much attention to it because I was really still in this mindset, especially having come from this material world, right? And doing that for 8 years, creating these little twins and, controlling exactly, have an exact representation of that material so it can be used downstream in any 2D or 3D application. I was kind of stuck in that mindset until I actually had a chance then to use it myself. We had some conversations on how can we actually bring in materials and so forth, and before ImageLab came alive. But then once I actually started using it, I realized that I have to kind of rewire my thinking and my approach to the whole thing. And then this brings us, we're getting to it, it's just like back to the materials and so forth. But to me, with and it's not that, it's not everything is not solved to me yet, but again, it's one of those things where I think for me, this whole thing, and then as I thought about it also last night for preparation for our conversation today, it really changed to me how we should be talking about rendering in general.
Yeah.
Because
it's changed, right?
rendering, we always said, okay, here's a 3D model, and okay, I apply some materials and I push a button and here it is. It's an image. But it's always like what I do. We're always thinking when it's an image or maybe it's an animation of some sorts, right? But now it has become, it's now a rendering to me now when I look at it it's still that, but on the other hand, it's so much more, and because it can be so much more. It's that storytelling now of a product. Putting and doing that. At any stage of the development cycle. To me, that's the fundamental change and of that it brings to the market.
Because you've got a whole ability to tell that story, right? From the sketch to an image to an animation to a 3D model, and everywhere in between. You can tell a very complex story in a very short amount of time to sort of compel and communicate your ideas, right? I think that's I think that's within minutes you can actually create a five-step story that will tell a lot of what you're trying to communicate.
I'm just sharing this image here because I did this yesterday evening, and it was one of the last images yesterday
cool.
I did late, so, and this is a little bit just a symbol for what you can do now, because to render it's possible, but it's really hard, and and you have the rockets in the background, the steam and the fog and the night scene and this whole story, around it. And that's now really easy to do, but still you have to use your idea to bring it down here, but it's not a far away. It's your idea, it's done. It's your idea, it's done. And it's not using software. It's more like working together with software. That's the biggest change I see right now. But I'm stopping presenting because I think, Thomas, you want to share also some stuff.
Yeah, because this really, one thing here, I'm sure this is kind of like, of course, I come to it, and because we started the conversation, when Phil pinged me and said, I got it. I got the Keyshot killer for you. It's like, all right.
It's here. The new revolution.
Let's see it. And so, of course, I came from instantly like, okay, where, when we're looking at this is why also where Keyshot is really strong, and of course we're all automotive guys, but you love cars. And that's what I started with, of course. But to me, it was like, okay, so let's do CAD, it's like really where Keyshot is also being used and why it was so strong, even with HyperShot. And since I don't have a CAD system here, so I was like, I went to GrabCAD and just downloaded some OBJ files that you can actually open up in Preview on the Mac. That was even before ImageLab had the 3D viewer now, or the 3D import. Let me just take this here. So I downloaded. If you look at this, it's like, what the heck is this here? So again, full screen. It really is. It's an OBJ file. Basically, you can almost like you can't see anything on this thing. And I took it as a screenshot. So I oriented at that angle. And I took it into ImageLab, and then I just said, make a picture out of it, right? And again, because this is what you would do, kind of with Keyshot. And then instantly I was like, oh well, we always did, when it comes to this, and an iPhone comes in different colors. So it's like I tried patterning it, right? So I was like, hey, I need a pattern thing, and there's like, you see little quirks because it's falling off on the back there, but on the other end, it's like with a prompt, okay, I can do that. So this is great. But then I thought, well, first of all, I needed to update the display. So I took a screenshot of my home screen and then applied that. It did it like, except for the bottom there. I don't know why, but it was good enough for me. But one of the things is, and this is to me a key moment, because this is something that we tried to do at Swatchbook, because Swatchbook the key was that we had basically this material library was in the palm of your hand. It was running on iPhone, right? You had a mobile app and you can browse thousands of materials right there. So from a design perspective, we wanted to put that graphic together, right? It was not me, it was Yazan, my partner, and knows how to use Photoshop. I know he's an expert. And he struggled. It always looked, that looks fake, because putting an iPhone into a hand, right, with traditional tools. Now you have the guy who can actually really like render, not just Keyshot render, but, noodle shaders and all of that, and noodle that in Photoshop. And he struggled. And we got it close, but you could always tell. And for me to say, put it in the hand, basically was one prompt. And I was like, it was really that, again, this wow moment. I was like, well, first of all, I couldn't do it, and I couldn't do it with traditional tools, and then being able to do this, and then having done control over, where I said, "Oh, hey, I need different nail polish. Hey, let's change the skin tone here," and then I put it into an Apple Store. And I'm not saying, hey, this is an ad or something like that, but again, this is coming back to this whole storytelling of. Where it's like, okay, even if I have a concept of that, of whatever product it is, but putting it in context and being able to present it that way, rather than just a traditional, okay, here's a rendering, a shot, and so forth, and without having to go to a physical model or a physical prototype, and then actually marking it up, which I know, having dealt with Apple for over 20 years, this is what they would use. That's what they used to do, right? And maybe are still doing, because this kind of stuff is just not. I don't want to say it's not feasible, but it's not efficient to do it with traditional tools, especially when you want to do it at scale, right? And then I said, put it on a pile of iPhones, and then change that. So, but to me, even at that simple exercise, how long did that take? How long did I spend? 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but maybe a little more. And there, it was kind of like, this is where I said, this is, to me, that's the game changer. That's the killer, and that's the redefinition of rendering as we know it.
Yeah, I think really, I mean, there's a thing I heard today, is speed of intent to action has just been completely changed. You have an intent and you get action from that intent very, very quickly. And this is really what's been enabled. And we've been really focused on, of course, building this tool to be as simple as the original HyperShot, to, sort of not require, an engineering degree to be able to use it. And so that's been an important part. But that's a fantastic story
Really,
right there of the iPhone. Yeah.
yeah, cool example.
I changed. I want to change it to a different one. I did. Yesterday I went and organized all my things, and of course, it's nothing like you guys have done. But also the other thing. I mean, coming back to cars, but this is like, it really is to me the interesting thing was, is like, how we utilize CAD, right? And this is especially for this audience here, they have seen this before because this was, I think your first guest was Jeff Hafer.
Jeff Hafer, yeah.
Now we have to be a little bit higher in the image. Yeah.
Oh, that's what oh, okay, there we go. Okay, got it. So this is, and it just, to also quickly go back. This is in my LinkedIn feed, as I go through having the morning coffee, and I found this thing from Jeff Hafer. That's a SolidWorks screenshot, right? And he
No,
built
it's
it in
Fusion.
SolidWorks, which is
Fusion. Autodesk Fusion.
Fusion. Sorry,
Yeah.
yes, you're right. Because I was like, SolidWorks has that doesn't have that kind of surfacing. So he uses
Yeah, that's
Fusion. But he posted this, right? And he posted Keyshot renderings with it. So I was like, all right, let's see what I can do here. Now I had a couple of days of Image Lab under my belt already. So I felt empowered. So I literally just grabbed it. This is the screen, nothing else, right? And you see what's amazing is it has the menu and everything. And that is, for me, the input. I mean, it's not even like, I didn't even try to crop it. I just threw that into Image Lab to see what I can get. And this is the first image that it created. And I went back and it's like, okay, let's see. Holy shit, it actually, look at all the details and how it actually grabbed it, right? So to me, that's like, in one button click, sure, could have probably done that in Keyshot, and Jeff Hafer had shown that. So I went further. I was like, okay, let's see how far I can push it. And then I put one of these. This is the great thing that you have for those people who haven't used it. You have these basically the one button push. Hey, put it on a mountain pass and put it on any location, like especially for car, and it's beautifully defined in these categories for cars. You can put it anywhere in the world. These significant places, whether it's Nürburgring or Laguna Seca or just anywhere, right? Then of course, they're the blobs, it's just like, hey, I need a driver in, and, so it's like, okay, that's why it's still, we'll get in there. It's, yeah. And then I put it on the Route 66, was also like interesting. That's where we talked about, control of the camera angle and so forth, but then Nürburgring, right? And so these are the things that I put it just white studio, but then it was like, okay, now I had to, because I have seen what Phil does, and because sometimes I need to unlock my, just like just let go, and Phil would just show me, oh, here's Versace and the car with Versace and this, and here's a circus. And I was like, okay, I'll put it in the candy store. I was like, holy shit.
Candy store.
Why not? Why not? Kind of,
so
for
cool.
a candy store for adults. And so, and then when I got to this, and then I put this together, and then I was like, okay, so I gotta share this. I gotta show this to Hafer, because it's like, you're still using traditional rendering. Let me show you this, and I shared that with him, and we set up a call, and long story short, he got hooked, right? Because of what I was able to do, and then the beauty about this is, also, I mean, you see here, it has like some floating umbrellas, but then it has these cleanup tools. I was like, yeah, remove all these umbrellas. I don't need this. Remove the people, and just focus on that. And this is again, just keep coming back to this, as I would not be able to do this. And even if you wanted to present an early stage, let's say you have this shape whipped out in your CAD program, but you want to actually present it, these, without having to go to these level of detail, so it actually does look real. It's not possible. To me, also, where I felt like the more I thought about this whole thing, how does this change rendering? It changes rendering because I no longer have to wait for that final model. Because if I don't have the detail, right? I mean, you can't polish a turd. It's a polished turd, but it's still a turd in a sense. But if you don't have the detail, your renderer won't fix that for you. But this is where, with AI rendering, yes, I can actually get to a point where anywhere I can stop and and create and basically start telling a story and presenting that product.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then,
Looking at the clear code is cool.
Yeah, and then I put a Louis Vuitton that was inspired on one hand by Phil, the other thing with Tiger, and you'll see that in other examples I'm going to show. It just brings me back because one of my favorite movies is actually The Hangover, and the scene where the tiger of Mike Tyson is in the bathroom. And then I thought Vegas and Siegfried and Roy, and then White Tigers will start popping up. So I
That's
always
great.
threw them in. So, yeah, so having some fun here, and
I mean, that
being
is one
able
of the
to,
things that's most fun, right? Is that you can just let your imagination free, and it's one of the
yeah, exactly.
hardest things to do is to just let go and feel like I just want to create, and get into a creative flow versus thinking about technicalities.
Yeah, and one of my recent again project, and so I'm gonna go, and I still want to go back to some other uh, non-correlated stuff, but the recent one, because I touched upon this whole idea of not not to have that not having that final model, um, and so here I went also again um, went into LinkedIn, and I found this sketch, right? Well, everybody knows what it is, it's the Countach. And I was like, okay, so this is perfect. I was like, I don't want to do more cars, but let's see what we can do. This is a beautiful sketch. Let's see what it does, right? And again, even though I had seen and I had tried it before, on many examples, how you can take a sketch and turn that into a rendering, right? And then, okay, so fine, just do that. It was really sketch to. It was one button push. I didn't control the color. I didn't tell it what color it should be. It just did it, right? And if you actually look at it, I mean, the sketch is very good. It maintained that detail perfectly, right? Added a couple of things. There was a mirror missing. It added that, but I mean, it's to me actually mind-boggling, right? And I put it in ICENE and on PCH, and then the salt flats there. Again, these are just button pushes, and that's to me, and I don't have to think about that whole prompting thing. And then I just created a movie. And that's the other thing, with uh, how am I doing this traditionally when I can't. I simply can't. So here's the whole thing. So again, the Versace thing is Phil inspired my this time White Tigers.
Yeah, cool.
In this case, I prompted it um, to do it, and of course, yes, you are not telling it exactly where the people have to be, but on the other hand, then I thought about it. How important is it? Do I need to really control, where the person actually stands, or do I just let it be
Let it go.
inspired? Because I can always take that image and then refine it, right? And then things like that happen again. It was like it just did it. It to me. Yeah, it's 5 seconds. I just want to play with it. And then I thought this was something, I had this is like kind of like I wanted to post that actually for Thanksgiving.
I love the turkeys on there.
It's really
Yeah, because
cool.
that's why I wanted to do it on Thanksgiving, and then I just ran out of time and forgot about it. But again, also where you actually tell it, okay, the doors are open. You tell exactly what you want it to be with, and it does it for you without you having to spend all the time to put that rust on the paint, to make the interior dirty, to place these
The
turkeys.
doors weren't open before, right?
No, I set the
You
doors
prompted
open.
that?
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
amazing.
I set the doors open. It actually opened both doors, and I just wanted one open, but it was good enough, right? Uh for what it is. And what else did I do? And
Crazy.
then yeah, I have this thing about also I like these post-apocalyptic movies like The Road and Book of Eli and so forth, and like also Mad Max. And I had some other examples. But then I was also because Lamborghini had done that. What was it? The Huracan as an off-road version.
Oh, right.
And so it's like, hey, what if we make the Countach actually an off-road vehicle as well, right?
Cool.
And then put some Mad Max girls in there. I changed the characters, added more. But this was also an interesting one. First, I said change the ladies because they look the same, so I changed them. But then again, because ImageLab, for those who don't know, does actually analyze. It has that feature of analyzing your image, and you can enhance that image. So one of the brand for add more people to it, and so it was, I think, a couple of steps in, because then I was like, also add fire and add smoke and so forth. But based on analysis of that image, so again, all of those were just a button push.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool thing. It makes like 12 small change buttons, like, add smoke, add fire, but it's relative to the image. Yeah.
It's
Right. And
I have one question, Thomas. So you changed also the form of the car, because you started with this normal Countach, and now it's more like an off-roady Countach, and this was also done in ImageLab. So okay.
yeah, yeah, all of it. Right. And I said, put some lights, I think, at the top. I think that's what I said. But other than that, yeah, it also just did it, for me, because that gets us into really a whole another discussion. Then I wanted to do a night scene. Then I started doing some movies, but here, for example, I wanted them to run around, so they both get in on the same. I was like, oh my God, it's so close.
It's so close.
10-second movie, but hey, stop getting in on the same side. So in the end, I started over and did a different scene, but only I said, okay, let's try it with one lady and see what I can actually get. Turned the lights on, and then I got this. Again, this was just prompting. She runs in, she closes the door and drives off. Dirt's kicking up. I was like, okay, game over. It's not. I mean, this was so good, and
Can you
considering,
hit play again,
and
Thomas? Hit play again, because it
yeah,
skipped
let me.
my.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. There you go.
It's
Let me.
fantastic.
Oh,
Really.
yeah. Because
Yeah, it's fantastic.
do you hear the sound?
No.
No, we can't hear the sound, but it's great. She almost got our coat stuck in the door, I could see, but
I see. Yes, and you can, like yesterday when I showed you this, right? I mean, so
crazy.
here is the little things. I mean, yes, the coat,
No, but
and
it
then
pulled all the way in. It's amazing. Yeah.
it pulled all the way in. You see the door misaligning here, so it's like you wonder. So why does that happen? But again, it's also
Because it was open, right? It doesn't know exactly, I guess, I don't know. I mean, it's trying to infer the best, but it just misses it maybe by 1 frame, 2 frames, or something like this, right? That's, maybe it was gonna align, but it just moved a little too fast or something. I don't know.
but I was like, in the end, doesn't matter. I'm not saying this is the final product. This is a final,
Right.
now it's ready to ship. But it's really just this conception and the storytelling that you can
Storytelling, yeah,
actually do
yeah,
with this.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's just
When I was working at Porsche, it took us long time to get a car driving. And as a designer, you need to see cars driving, because then you get a better feeling about proportions. So it's really expensive, and time expensive, and it was, yeah, but now it's fast. Cool stuff,
yes.
Thomas. Nice, good looking.
Let me. Do, well, thanks. One of the things also where this is boring, but again, industrial design is it kind of. And offending all the industrial designers here, but it is somewhat boring, right? Especially when you are let's say you have to do
Oh, this is very cool. Yeah.
so you have to do these mundane things. It's like redefining a plastic bottle. It's like redesigning a pen. I was like, really? What can you possibly do? So again, GrabCAD, download OBJ file. It's a screenshot. Really, and I was like, oh, wow, let's see what I can do with it. Upload that into ImageLab. And then at first, because I didn't tell it anything, I was like, okay, fine. So it's a milky plastic, whatever. So I started, okay, then fill it here. Okay, it's nice how it actually picks up the caustics and so forth. Nothing, I didn't get too excited. But then again, just what I did with the iPhone, it's like, okay, I need to see it in context. So I want to put it on a shelf, and I want to pattern it. So the patterning is always something to me, especially with smaller objects, that I'm trying to do. So I had it on a single one. I was like, okay, that looks pretty good. Then I put some whatever I wanted to put some green tea in it or
Lucas
something like
Aid.
that.
The British
And
thing.
then I put I put my logo on, and I was like, okay, so why did it only put it on 2, not on 4? I was like,
Yeah.
it's the whole thing, it's just even like, so now you come in with like a renderer. Okay, so maybe I need to put it on first and then pattern it. Then it's different. So I changed the lid. Okay, did that. But then this was a fun part. I was on an outdoor scene. I was like, okay, now I actually want to, I just want to have somebody shoot the bottles, right? And basically shoot through all 4 of them. But again, you have to tell it, right? What you want. And so I didn't do a very good job. And I know I gave up, but here is that movie, where,
Oh, it's loading maybe.
yeah,
Slowly loading in. Huh.
I don't know what the other ones played so nicely,
Yeah, they
but
played
this
so
one
quick.
doesn't.
Yeah. Strange.
Yeah, see. But anyway, so here I went back to, okay, so let's try this again. I put a logo on. But then I was like, okay, so let's shrink wrap that again. Pattern, shrink wrapping, I was trying to get to this whole packaging thing, because that's one idea is this always with rendering, it's just rendering being used for packaging. It did a pretty decent job of doing that. But then I was like, okay, put it in context. And so I put it in Costco. I really told it. I said, put the damn thing in Costco. And there it is inside Costco.
That's unbelievable. That's really cool.
It is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, because I never did this. I never saw this before. It's really
No,
interesting.
it's
because
very creative even to get to that point and to
Yeah,
visualize it inside a Costco, I mean, if you're a product designer and you're trying to sell your product to Costco, you can now
Yeah,
act without going in there and taking photos, which they will be very wary of and would not want you doing that. You could
exactly.
actually, make it look like it's exactly as it would sit within their shop, and for them to visualize how it might fit into their world, right? It's really
that's a
amazing.
really cool idea, Thomas. Really nice done.
And, of course, when I created this, I always, I saw all the stuff that you post, and in particular, Christian, what you put out, it's just incredible. But, I was like, oh, this is, I didn't get too jazzed about it, because it's like, it's kind of boring, So, but, then on
But
the
it's
other hand,
not, think of rendering that. Think of what it would take to actually create that any other way, but it would be easier to manufacture the bottle and stick labels on it and get it shrink
yeah,
wrapped and put it in a shop. It would be. It actually would be.
Is it possible to render it? I'm not sure because it looks
It's
really
possible.
real,
A very highly skilled guy could do this,
but it takes a
but you
long
would have to
time
be
to
very
set up
skilled.
the prep
Yeah.
and so on, do all the stuff. I think it's
well, this is like,
possible.
even then, yeah, because how do you
Shrink
even,
wrap. Just imagine that.
how do you shrink wrap? How do you
You
model
gotta
that, right?
model
This
that.
is
You gotta
hard.
model
Yeah,
the shrink wrap, right? Or you gotta
yeah.
use cloth simulation and
Yeah, and why should you model it if you can do it like this?
yeah, exactly. It's
That's
just
the big thing
yeah.
now. So wow,
But it
really,
completes the story. Again, the story of taking this bottle through product visualization, animation, a video, all the way to visualization in a shop. I mean, it's incredible.
it's cool, very nice.
Yeah. So this again, this was one of the
Try
those
your movie
CAD.
again, Thomas. Try the movie again. Maybe it'll play.
You want to see the shooting, huh?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Yeah, let's see.
Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe not. I don't know. Oh, maybe
Let's see
not.
here.
Huh.
No,
Strange.
it's not even available now.
Oh,
Let's see
okay.
here.
It's refusing.
Mm-mm. No, it's not.
Oh well. Next time.
We'll post it in a
Yes, we posted,
separate
yeah.
post.
Yeah. There you go.
Let's see what else did I do, which I thought was interesting. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about fashion, because I did a lot of, well, there's a couple of things I want to show. Well, actually, let's do a different one. The here, this bag. So here I experimented with. Okay, so when I had my chats with both Phil and Chris, I said stay out of fashion. But then I couldn't help from creating some having spent 8 years with materials in fashion. I was like, okay, so let's give it a shot here. Let's see what we can do. But what I did is this time an input. The input was not just a plain CAD model, was actually a 3D scan that I had
Wow.
downloaded, right? So a GLB file, so it was fully textured. So this is how it came in. So I took this, then screenshot. Also, we could open up in preview. So I opened this up and so loaded it, and I said, okay, let's see what we can do with this.
Not a bad scan, right? I mean, the buckle's looking pretty good.
Oh yeah, those scans are great. This was
Yeah.
done by a company called Allsights out of Italy, and they're doing a really great job
Yeah.
of preserving not just the geometry but also the materials. Really,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's both like a 3D scanner plus a material scanner. Really
I
good.
see.
It's really good.
So I took really, I mean, these are just from like in the fashion category. Basically just put, click the button and then it's like, I forgot what this case, what it was. Oh God, or something like that. But then
Very
also
cool.
putting in context, having somebody actually holding that bag, out, and, this was like, I wanted avant-garde. I don't know why it showed up with these kind of like these face
It's
paintings. I was like,
avant-garde.
this is
Yeah, but
avant-garde, It's
Yeah,
like,
there
oh,
it
stick
is.
something in your face.
I'll just put some
But
black smudge on there and be, oh, nice. I like the red.
But it's then also just to change the color, and this is really again in a prompt that it actually recognizes that, and it was huge. Then again, my favorite thing to
Patterns.
do, patterning, and put in a store. The store's a little boring. Looks like is it Kohl's or something like that. And then I animated it. I don't know why I changed. Pants are changing, but I think I also said I wanted to do too much. Right, I said change it to yellow, but it changed the pants to yellow. So
Yeah,
I
it
tried
likes
it
one
again,
thing, one major change
but
at a time.
like this one, it did exactly what I wanted. I said put it over your shoulder, and I only did like these because I didn't want to burn too many credits, just for when I experiment. But for 5 seconds, that she actually put this over her shoulder, turned around, and walked out the room. To me, it it's great. And then we do that yellow here, where she just walks off and holds it. But then again, the same what I had earlier.
Right. Same prompt, and you got her to do
Yeah,
the same motion with the
yep.
with a different color bag. That's very cool.
wow.
This so here this is another thing where I said okay, put it in like a street scene, and this is great. The only thing here is, and this is also where we come into this conversation of where are kind of like these limitations. Now it's already it's like almost like a traveler bag. It's much bigger than just a handbag than it was
Yeah, yeah,
before.
yeah.
And see that's where I struggle. I tried then over and over again to make it smaller again. I couldn't. And then I was like, okay, whatever. I'm just gonna roll with it, and do different things, resort style, runway. Here, I got it smaller, but then I'm missing the zipper. Let's see here. I did more things. This just color changes. Again, Bohemian. I expected more, and then rather than it just floating there, but nevertheless. And then also again more street style. I tried to make it smaller. All of a sudden the zipper's gone. Okay, I was like, no, go back. But then again, also here it's like, okay, I want multiple bags, different colors, different people, and it's
Yeah.
just one prompt.
Yeah.
Again, just can't. Tell me as how you do that with traditional tools, and then yes, again, I think this is also bohemian. It's like the flower girls with that, and
Cool.
so
That's awesome.
these things is to me is like rendering is no longer what we started out discussing is no longer just this static image, but it really becomes like this a storytelling tool at every step of the process, starting when you have an early sketch.
Yeah. Really great stuff. Really fantastic,
Thanks.
and a great variety of different types of applications, right? From a product to a car to a apocalyptic story, and then ending with a bohemian fashion with multicolored handbags. It's really
It's
great.
also cool to see you handling the software, and go to different projects, get your stuff done, show it, make it full
Yeah.
screen. So we try to keep this really easy, so that this discussion we have every day, Philip and myself, so, oh no, it's too complicated. We have to make it better, simpler,
Yeah, yeah.
simpler,
Always.
So we
Yeah.
try to keep it simple, and that's maybe one
Yeah.
of our goals, yeah, for the
Yeah.
future also.
For sure. I mean, one of the things that I'm not using it too much just yet is that you use it all the time is the voice button, right? And then you
Yeah,
can actually talk
yeah.
to it.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I found myself, I tried to do it, and this is where I tried to do the Lambo turkey scene in the barn. I wanted to just talk to it, but because I was talking, but then I had to think, and so I stopped.
Ah,
And every time, when I don't have my thoughts then all laid out, it stops. And then I stop talking again and it overwrites that. And then I finally goes,
okay. This problem
Yeah.
I don't
so
know. I'm just
That's
talking.
the problem is you're stopping to think. You can't do that. You just
You
got to
yeah,
don't
let the
think too much.
creative flow.
say, let it rip.
Just let it flow. I mean, that's it. That's the answer is that don't overthink it. Let your creative part of your brain flow it out. And then when you can stop it and then go back and edit if there's something you want to
Yeah,
change.
but it's interesting,
But
Philip.
oftentimes it works.
If I talk to it, it's like I just talk to a person. I just talk like random stuff, and it understands very well. So you don't have to. I don't edit my prompts. I just click and see. Okay, no, this wasn't good. Maybe I have to change. But you can really just talk to it. Try it out.
Yeah. I think it's a major paradigm shift to begin talking to your computer, right? Even though it's been available for some time, we had the little clippy thing from Microsoft back way when. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it
Of
was like
course.
this thing talking at you, but you couldn't talk to it. But now we're actually on the cusp of interacting with computers with just our voice and just telling it what you want. It will understand and do what you want. But this is a major shift coming, and getting used to that notion now is something that is not easy. I mean, I think only just in the last, well, maybe 6, 9 months, a year tops, the language models have been good enough to really understand what you're saying and get it right. I know in the Apple phone, I was trying to do text for the last couple of years. And it just wasn't getting it. It just always missed it. And it's gotten better lately,
Yeah.
but it missed it for so long that I think a lot of us have been burned by trying to talk to our machines, and yet now here we are where you can actually interact with it like it's your assistant, and just you got a guy sitting next to you, just tell him what you want.
And I can talk to it in German, so I can really be more precise because
That's
it's my
great.
native
Yes.
language. That's great. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, very cool. Well, we're really fantastic stuff. I don't know, Chris, if you're chomping at the bit, you want to show something. I don't want to overshadow what
Oh, no, no,
Thomas
no.
has
I
done.
don't want to show something.
It's
I'm
been
really,
such great work that you've shown,
I'm,
Thomas. We really appreciate it.
I'm still thinking
Hey,
about the bottles, the red bottles. This was really cool, man. To have.
that's interesting. And that was one of my, if I have to think about it, it was one of my, at least to me, one of my more really my most boring things I did. But on the other hand, not realizing kind of like the impact, and it just resonated with me later on. I don't want to show. I just want to show one more thing. Again, it was a fun thing. Oh yeah, here it is in my folder called Freddy.
All right. This was very cool. I love this stuff. Yeah.
So let's start with this. So again, so here and for those who don't know, I've been in the software business my whole career, and everything whenever I built something, whether it was early on at PTC and then we went to with Bunkspeed and HyperShot and Keyshot and also Swatchbook, it's always not just here's a tool, but it's really how does it fit into the process. And so now, being independent, I'm trying all these different tools and different input and see how it could actually possibly fit all together. So what I did here is, again, it's a scan. It's a real product, actually, a real sneaker that actually exists from Nike. So it's a Nike scan done again by all sides. So I download their GOB file, I put it into a new kind of like Keyshot in a browser type tool. I know he might not want to hear that, but it's Figment. So works in a browser and produces fantastic results. So this is a rendering out of there. I just duplicated and positioned the shoes. So I have to, but I didn't touch the materials. So this is actually also because I wanted to test out how good these materials actually look in a render rather than in a preview or any kind of like these browser tools. So I got this straight out of that. And I was like, okay, so now, because I have that input with these real materials and how it really looks, let's take it into ImageLab, because now I'm not giving you, so I think, much room for interpretation. So I did this, and then also I was driving to the gym. It was a Friday, I remember, and on NPR I hear, this thing about Bohemian Rhapsody turns 50 today, and I was like, oh my God. that is, I got to do something with that, and what, so it was like Friday evening. Then I was like, okay, so, have Freddie Mercury actually to wear these sneakers. And I was like, I was actually floored by that. This was one prompt. Nothing else. It's not like a trial and error. And, there he is on stage and is wearing these sneakers. I was like, this is incredible. Then I was like, okay, so now let's let him run. In the end, he doesn't look like Freddie Mercury anymore. It was still such a great exercise, and I tried it again. And again, you can tell it doesn't look like him anymore. So there's again this room for improvement.
He changes more as time goes on, which is a consistency
right.
thing, which has gotten better since this first month.
But then I was like, okay, so I have him sit in a chair, and I was actually then again floored at how it really put those shoes there. It was incredible.
And it's like it knows to focus on the shoe because you said put the shoe on his foot. So you must want a nice picture of a foot in a shoe that we can focus on that. And you got this star. It's Freddie Mercury, so we're gonna make him look like Freddie Mercury chilling in a chair. But he puts the shoe
and I told
on.
him, he's smoking a cigarette.
To tastefully match the coloring of the shoe. It's just.
Exactly. And it was like, I had to look up. It was like, hey, I forgot, does Freddie Mercury smoke? Oh, did he smoke? And they said yes, and he was a smoker. Okay, so I can, I don't want to, do something that he wasn't doing. So they told him, he's smoking a cigarette. And then I put him in his dressing room too. And that's what I thought was even better. I wanted to, this is like where I always feel like, okay, so now we still need more control because I didn't want the other leg to be cut off. But I couldn't quite get it. And I was like, well, this is still good enough. The fact that I can...
It's called zoom out. There's a zoom out button, and that's what you need.
Oh.
Zoom out, yeah.
And then I was like, this is great, but now... then I changed the color, and I was like, I said, make the main material or the main leather, I forgot what it was. All the brown leathers, actually I want purple. And it just did it, so that recoloring was great. Left the laces at brown. I was like, okay, fine. I think I changed them later on. Yep, there you go. Changed the laces too, separate prompt. And then I was like, okay, so, purple, what are you going to do? Well, and then, Purple Rain came to mind, and then I put it on Prince. So, anyway,
so crazy.
And I always tell people, just please try it yourself. I'm not I kind of like I built these tools, but more for the creative people to use and show what you can do with it, and then tell me what else you need and what would make it better. But for me to be able to do these kind of things, it's just like, okay, if I can do that, just imagine what you as a creative person can actually do.
Yeah.
So
that's how I feel too.
I wanted to end on that note.
This was fantastic, Thomas.
That's so great. All right. Well, thanks so much, Thomas, for sharing these stories with us, because these stories are great. It's all about the storytelling, and it's about an easy way to do that, and to let your creativity really flow. I think we've all found that we say our only limitation is our imagination, because you have to imagine it first. But if you've got a flash of a thought that you think of, you can do something to put a story around what you're working on, no matter what that is. And it's remarkable to see the vast range of stuff that people do with this tool. It is quite remarkable, the variety of things that are possible, and there is no limit. If you've got a use case and if you find there's a block, let us know. We want to hear it. Maybe we can help. But in the meantime, really fantastic work, and really great to share.
Thank
great to have you on, Thomas. Well, I'm sure we'll be working together.
Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we're excited to be part of this part of this journey together. Because it's so much fun.
Yes.
Thank you, Thomas, for joining. It was really cool.
All right. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Awesome.
See you then.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.